I in the news, and one thing that people want to talk about right now is these rising prices. Why are prices going up? I thought Trump was going to move those prices down, and he is ultimately not doing that. So let's talk about the reasons why these prices aren't coming down and not coming down anytime soon. So I was mentioned in this article, and I said farmers once again are on the back foot, feeling the strain, much like they felt in 2017 and 2018. If you're not familiar with this, in 2017, 2018, when the initial tariffs came into place, there were a lot of farmers, a lot of small farmers that almost went bankrupt. So what had to happen was a rescue package had to come in for $30 billion to basically backstop these guys. From going bankrupt and from prices getting out of control. Now, of course, you also know that back then we also had another avian flu that caused prices to go up. And it's just very odd that we're continuing having avian flu at the same time these tariffs are hitting. It's just kind of it's just consequential, and it's very odd that this continues to happen. But again, retaliatory tariffs are cutting into the export markets. There's a potential of a $230 billion reduction in the agricultural committee's budget in the works for the next 10 years, and they may soon have to pay higher wages for domestic labor because of the deportations, which will only drive up prices for consumers. I also mentioned that inflation correlates with food prices. Thompson myself said that input costs such as the seeds and the fertilizers, those get passed down to us as they become more expensive. Those things get passed down to the consumers. Another thing we didn't talk about is the exports, the tariffs on the exports. Well, now you have countries saying, okay, we'll just buy less of your goods. Guess who gets impacted by that? The farmers get impacted by that, and they have less revenue coming in. They're going to have to make that revenue up somewhere else, and they'll just raise the prices in other parts of their field just to offset the lost revenue overseas. So that's why it's important when we talk about trade that it's a good healthy conversation. So if we, like I mentioned again, if we rely more on domestic labor for food production, wages will go up, which gets factored into food prices. The burden of inflation just doesn't fall on the suppliers, it falls on the consumers, you and I. The last thing I said here again was Biden did keep a lot of these tariffs on them during his administration because he didn't want to remove them. But again, Trump and his rhetoric right now, currently, and again, I'm not for or against. I'm just making an observation that even though we talked about Canada and Mexico, a lot of the things that they're talking about are already in place under the Biden administration, already been signed, sealed, and delivered. Nothing's really been done there. That was more rhetoric. And again, the last thing I'm going to say is um, tariffs can be an issue for farmers with less demand for U.S. exports, like I mentioned, on agricultural products like corn, pork, and soybeans. The shortfall often goes onto the consumers because they want to continue to stay in business. So, this is what we have this time. Rising prices. CPI was a little stronger than we expected in regards to the wrong direction. PPI was a little bit better than expected. But we also have to know that these prices aren't coming down anytime soon. Thank you guys for listening to 9 in the News. I'll see you next time.